Can you mediate your divorce if you've been cheated on? Let's find out. Hi, everyone. I'm Laurie Itkin. I'm a certified divorce financial analyst, also known as a CDFA, practicing throughout California. And I'm joined by Laura McGee, who's a mediator, co-parenting specialist, and divorce coach practicing throughout California with an office in Carlsbad, North County, San Diego, if people want to mediate in person. Laura, what say you on this question?
I think it's such a great question because there's so much emotion involved when you feel like you've been betrayed. And a lot of people think they got to run out and hire the most expensive lawyer and go down all these rabbit holes because if you cheated on me, if there was an infidelity, you must be a cheater, cheater, cheater. Like there's no boundaries. And, that's not the experience I've had. In fact, one of the wonderful things about mediation is it's confidential. So if you can offer your partner, especially, we don't get much privacy in this world, confidentiality. I've actually mediated cases where we had you in the room tracing through this is how much money was spent at hotel rooms, on lingerie, on whatever. It's you have a right of reimbursement. Judge isn't going to spend time, even if it's 7 or 10, maybe 100,000. But they're not going to spend that kind of time, and you're not going to be able, no cost benefit. Some attorney running a case to try and get you back 10 or 15,000, but it might really feel emotionally gratifying that you can resolve that there was, a misuse of funds spent outside the community on somebody else. And oftentimes it was really just that particular infidelity. Laurie, you've looked at lots of these. What's your experience been?
Well, sure. I mean, so many of my divorce cases, working on hundreds and hundreds, there is infidelity. And so it seems the person that was cheated on often thinks their spouse will lie about every financial detail. But let me tell you, I'm a hard cookie. I'm a tough cookie. And in this state, whether you mediate or you go to court, your obligation is the same. You have to disclose your assets, your debts, your income and expenses, whether those are community property assets or separate property assets or debts. And with tax returns, with pay stubs, it's pretty hard to hide money. Now, yes, it does happen. There are the exception. There are cases. But when you have a CDFA working in a mediated session, we can figure out how big of a probability is this. So let's get that aside. Let's make sure that all the finances are squared away. And then we can focus on the instance or instances, period of time when infidelity happened. And as Laura said, there is something called a reimbursement to the community. You are half the community in California. And so if one spouse spent $10,000 on somebody else in whatever ways, yes, perhaps you're entitled to a $5,000 reimbursement. It may not make you feel emotionally whole, but it is a symbolic gesture. And we can go through credit card bank statements. It's not all that hard to trace, Laura. And you don't need to spend $40,000 on a forensic accountant and private investigator.
Right. And one of the beauties of this is I find this process in mediation can be quite cathartic because you are suffering emotionally and you do have some processing and recovery. But when you take charge of looking with Laurie's help, like you can see his bank statements and everything's got an account number. Where was it going? And you're owning what you probably didn't own before because you didn't notice it until it was too late. And I really see clients basically come to a place of a deeper understanding of all their finances because they're having to look at it like maybe it's the first time they've even read their actual tax return. And part of moving on after divorce, if you weren't the person involved in managing some of the investments or maybe doing your tax returns, but maybe you ran the day-to-day budget, you did the shopping and took care of the kids' clothes, but you divide and conquer. If you are working with a team like Laurie and I, you're going to come out of this with a deeper understanding of the entire financial net worth and where your money was going and where it has to go to move on and thrive after divorce so that you can take this as a very deep lesson in your own personal recovery.
Wonderfully stated. So there you have it. If you have been, have had experienced infidelity in your marriage, you can mediate the divorce. You don't have to go to court. And you can consider co-mediation with Laura McGee and Laurie Itkin. So Laura, I really appreciate you being on with me today to talk about this very sensitive subject.